This short video is meant to aid in the installation of Titan's Ford crew cab short bed and crew cab long bed tanks. The only difference in installation is that the long bed has 3 straps instead of only 2. Using accepted standard procedures, carefully lift and support the vehicle. Remove the bolts from the vehicle's fuel tank shield. Remove the shield and discard it. It won't be used again. Then remove the bolt and the bumper bracket on the frame and discard. The ideal method of removing the OEM tank is to place a transmission jack under the tank as a support. Lift the jack up to the tank. Then loosen the straps, undoing the inside bolts first. Remove the outside bolts and remove the OEM straps. They won't be used again either. Loosen the hose clamps that hold the fuel tank fill hose and the vent hose on the metal tubing from the fuel door. Leave them attached to the tank for the time being. This can be done before or after the straps are removed. Lower the tank as far as practical with fuel lines and electrical wiring attached. Reach up and unhook the feed and return lines and the electrical plug. James Patience, Titan's Technical Services Manager, explains how to remove the connector.
On the electrical connector, you're going to want to remove the red lock. Then depress the button on top of the electrical connector and remove it. For the fuel lines, they also have a lock. You need to slide that out, depress the button on top, wiggle, and it'll come right off.
With the fill and vent hoses still attached, lower the OEM tank. The straps are shipped tied together inside the sending unit opening. Other parts are packaged in kits in separate bags and boxes. Just a reminder, before starting this project, please read the included instructions all the way through. This shows the OEM tank and the Titan tank compared. Using a hammer and screwdriver or punch, loosen the lock ring of the OEM tank and remove. Loosen and remove the top flange on the new Titan tank, then check the O-ring groove and O-ring. Carefully check the inside of the new tank to be sure there is no foreign debris. Check to make sure the inside half flanges and gasket have not shifted in transit. Remove the sending unit from the stock OEM tank and place it into the new Titan on top of the O-ring. Make sure the float arm is pointing toward the rear of the tank. In fact, be sure to clock the sending unit. That is, place the sending unit into position in the new tank at precisely the same angle as it was in the OEM tank. Tighten the studs on the top flange of the Titan tank. Be sure to do so in a star pattern. That is, go back and forth, tightening opposing studs a little at a time. This keeps the sending unit sealing gaskets flat and seated. It's extremely important to set the torque on the stud nuts to 20 pound-feet using a torque wrench. After initially setting the torque, wait at least 15 minutes and check the torque again to make sure it is precisely correct. This step is vital to ensure there are no leaks. Loosen and remove the fill hose and vent hose from the OEM tank and install it on the new Titan tank. You may or may not remove the mesh from the hose. However, if your tank is one in which the vacuum vent is going to be installed in the vent hose, it makes that job easier. This shot shows both hoses properly installed on the new Titan tank. Sometime in late 2014, Titan will be introducing a new rollover fill stop vent valve configuration which simplifies venting. It consists of a rollover valve, a short hose, and a vent cap. This will eliminate our present venting assembly, which is installed into the vent hose. So if your tank has this configuration on it, you will not need to pay any attention to the installation of the T and vent assembly we will be covering next. First, cut the 3/4 inch vent line hose approximately 4.5 inches from the elbow. Then install the T of the vacuum vent assembly. This shows the vent assembly installed. The hoses are quick tied together to keep the breather of the vent up near the fuel door of the vehicle. Check to be sure the arrow in the check valve points toward the tank. Begin to lift the tank into the vehicle, keeping the hoses untangled. Lift the tank the rest of the way into the vehicle. Hook up the electrical plug and fuel lines. You may be able to do this before the tank is lifted up all the way. Install the rear strap. Note, the long bed tank has 3 straps plus the front tank support. The short bed tank has 2 straps. If installing a tank without a Titan shield, be sure to place bushings under each strap and on the front support. Since this is a crew cab short bed tank, we'll just be installing the front strap. Thread the bolt through the final hole and tighten all straps securely. At the vehicle's front cab mount, move any wire harness clips out of the way by pushing them up through the frame. Then remove the cab mount bolt. After inserting the 3/8 inch cap screw into the lower support, hang it on the lower lip of the vehicle frame. Slide it until the center of the lower support lines up close to the center of the cab mount. Then install the upper part of the support on the lower, leaving the lock nut on the cap screw loose. Place the included fender washer on top of the support and thread the OEM cab mount bolt up through it into the cab mount. Before using the vehicle, tighten the cab mount bolt to the vehicle manufacturer's specifications using a torque wrench. This close-up of the untightened support mounted on the vehicle's frame shows the proper assembly and placement of the parts. Now tighten the 3/8 inch cap screw that holds the 2 parts of the support assembly together. Note how this lifts the support into a sturdy, flat position. No need to worry about the head of the cap screw chafing the tank. It won't damage it. Here we see the properly installed front support assembly on Titan 7020211 and 7020311 model tanks. Ford trucks with the FX4 option may require the transfer case skid plate to be trimmed. First, loosen the bolts holding the skid plate and remove it from the vehicle. Using a torch, grinder, or even a hacksaw, cut the rear edge of the skid plate back enough to clear the front of the tank as shown. Dress and paint the edge where you made the trim. And reinstall the skid plate. Check to make sure there is approximately 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters of clearance between the tank and the shield. If you haven't already done so, slide the fill hose and the 3/4 inch vent hose onto the steel tubing from the fuel door and tighten the clamps. One of the very most important steps in the installation is to take the vehicle to a fuel source and fill the tank. Fill the tank completely, and then check to be sure there are no leaks.